Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to Fabulous Just Cuz. We're your hosts, Fabs and the Jessicas. We'll be discussing a badass motherfucker. Samuel L. Jackson, who plays Jules Winfield in the Tarantino classic Pulp Fiction. Woo! Yeah!
Welcome. Today we'll be discussing the badass motherfucker himself, Jules Winfield, aka Samuel L. Jackson, from the cult classic Pulp Fiction. Now, Jules is a hitman with Vincent Vega, played by John Travolta. And throughout the film Pulp Fiction, he says this famous quote, Ezekiel 25:17. Now, today we will be discussing the evolution of that quote throughout in relation to Jules' character.
Imagine hearing that right before you got shot.
No, I mean, that would scare the crap out of me. I mean, and it's a really badass thing to say. I mean, you have two, like, huge guys with guns in matching suits, and then one of them starts quoting this ridiculous thing from the Bible, and I'm literally on the couch just thinking, oh no.
But that's what gives his character power. I mean, it's that time when he is able to just forcefully say something that a lot of the other characters in the scene aren't even privy to or don't even know and barely even recognize. So it kind of gives him both an intellectual power and a physical power over a lot of the people that he's hurting.
And movie-wise, it builds the suspense because you know something big is about to happen.
Exactly, and in this scene, it's the first time his character does this. So you don't necessarily know they're going to kill these people, because, I mean, they do a great job of building up the scene with the false sense of security, where he asks him about the burger, and he eats it, he drinks the pop and everything. So you're not really sure what they're going to do, and then you find out the significance of that quote from the Bible after they basically just mow all these guys down.
Which is part of what makes the last scene so amazing, is because when he starts talking about that, you expect him to kill the two people robbing the diner.
You've been led up to that. You've been led to that feeling. But before you even get to that scene, I think when the transition happens for him, I mean, there were so many surprises in the movie. Yeah. There are so many things that, for me, this movie represents. It was the first time that I couldn't predict the plot line the entire way through. I didn't know what was going to happen next. Yeah. So to see such a badass motherfucker turn into something spiritual almost through the scene where he kind of comes to a realization that what life might mean.
And what's so interesting is, like, you have the scene which we just watched and we've been talking about, but then literally right after that happens where he kills everybody, you get the part where Jules he shifts as a person because of, like, the miracle kind of happens where the guy comes out of the bathroom and shoots them and should have killed Jules and Vincent. And because you have all these bullet holes that are, like, behind their head, like, it's almost impossible for where the bullet marks are for them to have survived. So that's Jules' his turning point, and he even mentions that. And then it shifts to that final scene in the diner where he tells the robbers, he says it, and then he talks about how he's at a transition point in his life.
And that whole passage has a whole different meaning for him than it did, I think, in the beginning when he started or got it memorized. I think especially towards the end, he kind of feels that it's something more than just a passage to empower himself over the people that he's kind of taken. But, I mean, it's pretty incredible when he says it in that last scene, because you feel like you actually understand exactly where he's coming from now, as opposed to before when you weren't sure that you understood him going out and killing a bunch of people.
Well, I don't think that he did either. You know, it was a matter of they just went out, that was their job, they killed, and he didn't put thought behind it. And then once his life, which to me it was bizarre that until that moment in time when the bullet holes were scattered behind them, like at any other moment you never really thought your life was in danger. I mean, you know, so it was interesting that it took that, but that it didn't happen before that also. So for me, just that, I think I would have had that moment a lot sooner.
Yeah. Well, what's so good about the film, like you were saying, it was your first film you couldn't predict, and it's a really remarkable film because the way it's segmented, it's out of order. So you see Vincent get killed before the final scene of the movie where they're in the diner, because that happens much earlier. And in Vincent and Jules, it represents the man who seeks redemption and the man who doesn't seek redemption. And by Jules accepting this, he's able to stay out of danger. And then we see how Vincent is later killed by Bruce Willis's character because he's going on a job by himself, and he doesn't take that redemption into himself. And so that's a really important part for Jules, because you can make the argument that Jules might have died as well, but you never know. I mean,
He redeemed himself.
Exactly.
We'll go back to the biblical confession
Exactly.
aspect of it, right?
Exactly.